Hello, everyone. It's time for our Notre Dame football update with Tyler Horka of blueandgold.com. Tyler, you were at Brian Kelly's Monday press conference, and for a variety of reasons, it was a really interesting half an hour with Coach Kelly. But first, let's talk about Kyle Hamilton. He offered some comments about whether he's going to play later this season.
He'll be having a second treatment today on his knee, and then, he's made really good progress. We expect that progress to continue through this week, and then he'll be evaluated next week as to whether he is in a position to return for the Virginia game.
So he's out for this game then?
Yes, he'll be out.
Do you expect him to play again this year for Notre Dame?
I do.
Okay.
I do. And look, it's his decision, and those aren't easy decisions, and he'll lean on his family. We have an outside source that we bring in that evaluates all of our players, that he's got a chance to listen to all that information. But Kyle will make the right decision and what's right for him. And look, we're assuming that everything goes great with his knee, right? I mean, so let's make that assumption. And then if that's the case, he'll have all the information in front of him, and we're going to support him 100%, whatever it is.
Yeah, obviously it's kind of a different era of college football right now. 10 years ago, if a guy goes down with an injury midseason, you're like, okay, whenever he's 100% healthy, he's going to get back on the field. Now, Kyle Hamilton is one of the top 5 prospects for the 2022 NFL draft. ESPN's Mel Kiper just listed him as number 2 overall. So he's got those things to think about. And like Brian Kelly said, he's got his family in his corner, his friends in his corner. They're going to talk it through. This isn't a situation that's as simple as, okay, I'm 90% healthy with the knee. I'm going to go get out there and try to help Notre Dame get to 11-1, maybe the college football playoff. I don't know. But at least a New Year's Six Bowl. Now it's, okay, I've done everything I can do in a Notre Dame uniform. I'm a top 5 NFL draft prospect. If I get back out there and maybe further injure my knee, maybe I fall out of that standing. So a lot of things to think about with Hamilton. I think it's more complicated than just when he's healthy. We're going to see him back in a Notre Dame uniform later this season.
Please hit like on this video, subscribe to our YouTube channel. Tyler, another thing that was interesting about the press conference was how much Coach Kelly talked about Navy. Normally we get more of the coach-opponent preview on Thursday, but he spent a lot of time talking about the midshipmen.
Yeah, usually it's Kelly gets up there, his opening statement is 2, 3, 4, maybe 5 minutes about the upcoming opponent. And then the reporters just dive into all kinds of personnel questions or coaching questions or things specific to Notre Dame. This week, it was Kelly was up there for maybe 6, 7, 8 minutes talking specifically about Navy. And then all the questions that came in from reporters were all about Navy too. So I think that just speaks to how different this opponent is, how different this week is. The triple option offense is something that's very dated in college football these days. You don't see a lot of teams running it, but obviously Navy does, and Notre Dame has to prepare accordingly. So, Coach Kelly spent time talking about what Notre Dame is going to do specifically with the scout team and Chase Ketterer running the quarterback position, and that's something that he did at New Prairie High School in Indiana. So they have a guy specifically on the team, on the scout team, trying to simulate what Navy will do at Notre Dame Stadium on Saturday. And then from a defensive standpoint, obviously, guys like Drew White, who have played Navy before a couple of times, those guys are going to be leaned on heavily in the locker room because this opponent is so unique and so different. And like you said, Kelly spending so much time talking about the opponent that's coming up kind of speaks to how unique and different this week is in particular.
Speaking of that triple option, Navy is coming off a victory. They beat Tulsa last Friday night, 20-17 on the road. And Tyler, you and I were talking before we started this show. 3 of their 4 losses after a bad start. They start out 0-2 and just lost to Marshall and Air Force, not close. Okay, but 3 of their 4 losses since then have been in tight games against very good football teams. Do you think this is a better Navy squad than their 2-6 record overall indicates?
Yeah, I think they're better than 2-6 indicates. I think they're better than the team that showed up against Marshall. That was one of those season opening situations where it just didn't go their way and things kind of compounded on them. Look, Navy doesn't do much to wow you on either side of the ball. They play pretty sound, specifically on offense though. The triple option isn't going to rack up, 40 points in a game or 500 yards, unless an opposing defense is just totally incapable of stopping the run. And look, Notre
Right.
Dame has had moments where we saw it last week. They couldn't stop Sam Howell. They couldn't stop Ty Chandler. Couldn't really stop Keontae Ingram a couple weeks ago, but they're still fundamentally sound, and you don't see a lot of 60-yard runs. You're not going to see that from Navy. Navy's going to keep it on the ground a lot. They're going to probably average 3 or 4 yards a carry, but they're going to keep going to the runs. So they're definitely better than 2-6 indicates, and that kind of can be shown in the way they played teams like Houston, SMU, Cincinnati. They lost to all of those teams by a touchdown. Those were one possession games against 3 teams that should be ranked. Excuse me if I don't know if Houston is ranked after beating SMU, but I know SMU was ranked before losing to Houston, and
Yep.
Cincinnati, obviously the number 2 team in the country. So those are 3 really good opponents, 3 really good teams that Navy played within a touchdown. So Notre Dame can't let its guard down. The betting lines suggest that Notre Dame's going to win by more than a touchdown, but there is a track record from Navy this year that shows that they can play tough opponents pretty well.
I think one of the concerns for Notre Dame and Notre Dame fans is, especially against playing against Navy, your linebackers need to be flowing fast to the football. Your safeties are playing the box, need to be flowing to the football. And in my opinion, the Notre Dame linebacker group has looked just a little slower to me than they did in the first 3 or 4 weeks of the season. J.D. Bertrand's played a ton of football. Is this the week where not having a Maris Leafau or a Shane Simon and some of that depth, Leafau was going to be a starter. My worry is that catches up with Notre Dame this week.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's another thing Brian Kelly talked about this week was he got a question specifically about freshman Prince Collie and, when is his time coming? Is there going to be a moment where he can step in and relieve J.D. Bertrand and make some plays on a Saturday? Probably not this week, because you don't want to throw a freshman into the fire against a team that's running all over the place like Navy, and you don't know where the ball is going. J.D. Bertrand probably knows where the ball is going. A true freshman like Prince Collie, probably not. But then you go back to, like you said, just the attrition that this linebacker group has gone through. Kelly said point blank that if Notre Dame had a bit more depth at the linebacker position, Drew White probably would not have played against North Carolina, because he's kind of going through a little shoulder injury right now. But look, it's November. Notre Dame is playing against a team that, like you said, the linebackers have to be in position. They have to follow the ball. They have to read the eyes of the quarterback. And Notre Dame has guys that can do that, but are they going to be able to do that as quickly as they would, say, a month ago or a month and a half ago? Maybe not. These guys are a little worn down, but Notre Dame's already had its bye week. There's no time to rest. They have to go out there against a Navy team that's going to run right at them. And I definitely think it'll be interesting to see how healthy Drew White looks. Brian Kelly said he's kind of rebounded and looks better at this time this week than he did last week. But then you go back to J.D. Bertrand, and it seemed like he was going to hit a wall there, maybe around the Virginia Tech game, but the bye week certainly did hit him some justice. But there's still 4 games left in the regular season. So does he hit another wall, and is that this week? We can only watch and find out.
Yeah, Paul Mawala, another Notre Dame player that I think would have fit into the ways that Notre Dame would defend this Navy option attack. Tyler, we always appreciate your time. Everyone, make sure, again, you hit like on this video, subscribe to our YouTube channel. We'll have full coverage of the upcoming game against Navy on blueandgold.com, so check it out.